There's one. Get the net. That's a big fish. Oh, that's a good one. Come on, get the net. That's a fish, Tyler. That's a good fish. Oh, man. Ooh, that one did not feel that big, Kyler. Yeah! Boom, baby! Yeah! Yeah!
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do another video on the ditches on the Harris chain, but I'm going to do ditches, or also known as drains. I'm going to cover Lake Griffin today. I've had a lot of questions on Facebook and a lot of people reaching out to me about Griffin, so I'm going to cover the Lake Griffin on the Harris chain of lakes today in this video. Before I get started, if you would, if you're not a subscriber yet, if you're new to watching the channel, if you would subscribe to the channel and also like the video if you would, please. It's a great way to support the channel. It's been growing really quickly here lately, and I highly appreciate that from everybody that's watching the videos and everybody reaching out to me. Okay, so now let's take a look at Lake Griffin and exactly where it's at on the Harris chain. Lake Griffin is the lake on the far north side of the Harris chain. As you can see here, it's the far lake up there on the Harris chain. You can get there by water if you put into a tournament out of Lake Harris, but you got to lock up through Haynes Creek, I do believe it is. But there's also a lot of boat ramps you can put in on just on Lake Griffin itself. Okay. Now, when fishing these ditches, I am looking for submerged hydrilla and eelgrass primarily. And here is an example of the hydrilla and the eelgrass. This submerged hydrilla and eelgrass can be far offshore from the bank, or it can be also on the edges of this Kissimmee grass and lily pads, or off the edges of the banks. And here's an example of the Kissimmee grass and lily pads for everybody wondering what the Kissimmee grass and lily pads are. And I like fishing these ditches primarily in the winter and pre-spawn. They're productive all year, but best for me in the winter and pre-spawn. Now let's look at some of the ditches on Lake Griffin that can be effective. Here's 4 areas to look at. These are just a couple 4 areas that I picked out to throw in there to show you guys kind of what to look for. There's other ones out there as well. The first area will be red, and that'll be down on the bottom to the right. The second area will be green, just above the red. The third area will be the blue, and that'll be on the left side. And the fourth area will be the orange above the blue on the left side over there. Now, the first area, this is the red area. So look at the darker blue on the contour map there. That means that's shallow water, meaning it's a flat. You can see how far it comes out there in all that shallow water. That's meaning it's a flat out there. So that's all shallow area. Now, this area will range from 10 to 0 foot. It just shows it to be really shallow there, but it's not exactly completely accurate. So be sure to go in there and look around for the ditches and drains and the deeper spots all up through that shallow water flat up there, because they'll be in there, and some areas will be deeper than what it shows there. Now, it should have submerged grass pretty much all over that flat, just depending on what is there. And then in the winter, it still should be there, and it shouldn't be as thick, but it still should be there. You will first see a red line on the bottom of the picture down by the point by that small cove. And that's the first ditch kind of starting there. And now you will see a ditch in red coming into that cove. In the next picture here, you will see a ditch coming up into the grass flat. And that's another ditch there with the red. The next picture, you will see a red line showing a ditch in the middle of that flat, running up into the middle of that flat. And then next you will see the ditch going into that flat. Now here next is a ditch just under that, running into the flat. And now the third ditch you'll see up towards the top of the image, just under the point. Next, you will see that ditch come out down into that flat there. Then you will see another ditch running into the top, up top into that flat. Now lastly, this ditch runs along both sides of that point up there. That's a good area to look at as well. The next picture you will see the green, and that is showing the grass that could be up on that flat. Just kind of not exactly correct there, just kind of the grass will be all up on that flat and through there, just kind of give you an idea. The yellow, that shows the submerged points that run out into these ditches there. Those are areas to focus on, especially in the winter time and pre-spawn. Now next here, you will see the areas to look for the bass in this picture here. Just kind of giving you an idea of where the bass will move up and down on that flat and around on the ditches there. I'll give you a minute to study that there and look at it. Now let's move on to the second area, the green area. First, you will see a ditch on the bottom of the picture coming into that point. Next, you will see another ditch going in towards that small cove. The next picture shows that ditch going into the flat off to the right. And here you will see another ditch going upward into that flat. Next, if you look in the middle of the picture there, you will see a ditch going downward into that flat. Just above that ditch, you will see another ditch running into that flat. And then here in the green, you will see some submerged points to focus on running into the ditches. And then just like the picture before, except we switched the green and the yellow. Next, you will see yellow showing to look for that submerged grass, kind of where that submerged grass is going to be, just showing you an example there. And lastly, like before, you will see the fish symbols showing where these bass can be staging up in the winter time and then also as it warms up. Give you a minute to look at that one there and kind of get that in there. And then you can also, while we're sitting here and you're looking at that, you can also view all this stuff on just Google and Google Navionics web app. And it's a free app, so you can get these contour maps if you're curious of where I'm getting the contour maps at. Now the third area, this is the blue area. First you will see red pop up towards the bottom, coming into the point. Next will be the second ditch, just above the first one to the north of the point. Next you will see a third ditch running along the bank and going into that flat back in toward those canals there. The last ditch here, you will see it running up into that flat. In the next picture here, you'll see some points shown in green running into the ditches. And here you will see once again that yellow showing where the grass is up on the flats. And then lastly, here's the fish symbols again showing you where to look for bass in these areas and kind of where they're going to set up and stage up to give you guys an idea. Now this is a good area there. When they spawn, they'll move back in these canals and up in the coves too, and they'll move up in the Kissimmee grass. I'll get into that here at the end of the video as well. Now the last area here is the orange area. This area is a very good looking area, and I like it because of that island, and I like it because I did really good on Harris around the island there. That island offers a lot of different things, protection from the wind, good areas for bass to move up into spawn, good areas for the bait fish to move up into, and those bass will follow them to feed on. So this is a really good looking area with that island and then the ditches coming up around the island and the deeper water up around that shallow water around the island there. So the first picture here, you can see the first ditch in red just to the right of the island. And next you will see that ditch run in and around to the bottom of the island. And next you'll see another ditch to the top of that island running around into the flat up on the top side of that island. And next, if you look to the top of the picture in the middle, you will see the deeper water and that ditch out there. you can see here that that ditch runs into that flat off to the left. And just above that, you will see another ditch running into that flat. Now here is a picture of the submerged points in the green, and then the grass here in yellow as well up on that flat. And then lastly, once again, here is your fish symbols, kind of showing where the fish will be and where to look for them up around these areas. I'll give you a minute to study that there, and then I'll kind of go through on how to fish these areas. Okay. Now all these areas are good, especially I like fishing the ditches in the deeper water in the winter in the pre-spawn. I like to look off to the basically to the edges, right where they drop off. If you can find grass right on the edges, right where that drops off, look for that grass right where it drops off into that deeper water. They like to stage up in that area there, right off where that drop is. Like to throw chatterbaits or bladed jigs. Spinnerbaits are good depending on the water temperature and how much shad is in there. And then Texas rig worms, ribbon tail worms work really good. Speed worms work really good in Florida. Any kind of Texas rigs. Wacky worm works good. You can fish it just about how you want. A jerkbait works good around there too. If you can get deeper and get it over the top of that grass, the bass will come out and eat that jerkbait good. So what you're doing here is looking for bass in these ditches. And then also once the water starts to warm up, the fish will pull up onto these flats into that submerged hydrilla and eelgrass once it starts to warm up. And then when it warms up even more, the bass will start pushing back into these coves and the canals to spawn. And that's when you also start fishing up in the lily pads and Kissimmee grass more, because they like to spawn up in there and they move shallower. And that's why these ditches are so great in the wintertime in the pre-spawn, because they're transitioning out there and the shad will move out deeper in the wintertime and the bass follow them out there, and that's where they go to, is that deeper water. And so that's what makes them so productive, as once those shad start to move back up shallower, and when the bass start transitioning back into spawn from the winter, they stop on the edge of these ditches. As you can see, all the flats up there. Once they're moving back in there, these are good areas where they stage up. When I say stage up, you'll get larger schools of them together, and they'll just be, you can kind of pinpoint them a little easier, so it gives you guys something to look at there. But once it warms up, just start focusing up there on the flats, or if there's any of the coves or canals during the spawn, get up in there. And then in the summertime, they'll get under that grass and sit in that grass once it grows in thicker, and you can go up and start punching it or flipping up in the grass in those areas. And then they'll also be out in these ditches too in the summer as well, but they're more productive for me in the winter and springtime. So guys, if you got any questions, just shoot me a comment or hit me up on Facebook and on Facebook Messenger, and I will get back with you and help you out as much as possible from what I know, and try to get you guys on some fish some more down there in Florida. I know a lot of guys that have got with me that struggle catching fish on the Harris chain, and they found my videos helpful. So had a lot of requests to do this one on Lake Griffin, so I broke down and did one here on Lake Griffin for you guys. Hopefully y'all enjoy it, and I'll try to get some more up, probably Eustis or Palpka next. And then there's also one I want to do on Lake Yell, which isn't connected to the Harris chain, but I did fish there and found some good ditches on it as well, so I'll break it down shortly here as well. So I only got about 3 more lakes. There is Carlton in there. I think I might throw it in there too. Try to get one video of all of them, just kind of on the ditches specifically for each lake. All right, thank you guys.